Welcome to Jobsharing and Beyond, the Future of Work podcast that goes beyond the traditional 9 to 5. I am Karen Tischler, speaker, consultant, and host of the show, where we hear from global experts every other week to discover innovative solutions and tips on how to remain a relevant employer in the future. I am so excited to have as my guest today Nina Strassner. Nina is the head of diversity and inclusion at SAP Germany. I really like how Nina describes her job on her LinkedIn profile. Diversity is the invitation to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. But the goal is each and everyone dancing like nobody is watching. Based on this principle, Nina is driving the SAP Diversity and Inclusion initiatives forward, coming up with new concepts and installing necessary structural changes on the ongoing journey to an inclusive and diverse culture at SAP. Prior to SAP, Nina has been running her own law practice, specializing in labor law and also working as a mediator for 12 years. A mother of two, she is a columnist, a well-known blogger, and a published book author, providing legal information as well as explanations of legal terms for parents in day-to-day situations with their children in a fun and easy-to-understand manner. Thank you so much, Nina, for being here today.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here as well.
Thank you. So now we have a lot of listeners from all over the world. So I typically start to ask my guests, where are they calling in from? So where are you today?
Today, I'm in my living room in Kiel, which is a city close to Hamburg, very close to the Baltic Sea, so in the north of Germany.
Thank you. And what's the weather like today there?
It's really sunny, but chilly. That's typical for the north, which is always a bit irritating because SAP, as you might know, has its headquarters in Walldorf, which is in the south and in a very the climate is very different from the climate in Kiel. And I'm traveling to Waldorf normally out of Corona crisis times. So I'm traveling to Waldorf Monday morning and I'm returning Thursday. And it's always really a climate change that I'm doing within Germany because there's a temperature difference of, sometimes 10 degrees, so Celsius. And they are running around in funny in small tops, and I'm wearing a jacket and a pullover. That's because that's summer in north of Germany. So yeah.
Wow. So as you're talking about your role as head of diversity inclusion at SAP, so in my research for the interview, I saw that just about a year ago, you've been asked to mention an organization that is excellent for working parents. And you suggested to the interviewer to call up Kava Yunosi, the head of HR at SAP in Germany, as he was doing all the things you wanted to see. And now you're the head of SAP Diversity and Inclusion.
Yeah.
So
that's how careers are made.
It's just amazing. So could you tell us a little bit more about the programs you are now dealing at SAP?
Yes, I'm happy to do so. So in a brief summary, as head of D&I for Germany, I'm responsible for all programs we are rolling out. So my team, which consists currently of 17 team members, is subdivided into like little sub-teams who are caring mainly about gender intelligence that's everything related to gender, LGBTIQ, and all these aspects that are related to what gender or sex you're having. And generations is also one of my focus areas. So how are people from different generations dealing with each other as at SAP? We have 5 generations there. One generation who could not imagine to live without internet, and the other one, was starting at SAP when there was no internet at all. Inclusion, of course, itself, so differentially abled person and how to include them into our working areas, and all these software and barriers to get them away. Autism at Work is a very special program where we care about people from the autistic spectrum, and we employ them directly, and we recruit them directly and approach them directly, which is something that you cannot just do. You have to prepare teams and managers to work with people from the autistic spectrum, so that nobody's confused, and that that our colleagues feel well when they come to SAP, and that they feel included and welcomed. And family and career is also a very important part. That's everything with how do we deal with business and family life. And I think that's pretty close to all the programs we are running around gender intelligence. So basically, they all fit in together. And there's one last program, it's called SAP for You, which is for mindfulness. So we deeply believe that being in balance with your inner self makes you happy, and also private life, and feeling included. So this is also part of D&I at SAP.
Thank you so much. As you are talking, private life and all the different types of support you have, one of the things I'm really curious about with SAP is the flexible working model, like job sharing, which I believe very strongly is excellent for gender equality, as it really helps work-life balance. Could you tell us a bit more about that program at SAP and why it is so important, and that it is also on a management level?
Yes. Yes, I totally agree with what you're saying. It is a great way of getting of balancing work and private life. The most ideal situation would be if you feel your work being part of your life, so that there's no clear border in between, so that you enjoy what you do. And we divide into job sharing and co-leadership. So job sharing is basically everything apart from management, and when we talk about management, we talk about co-leadership. So job sharing is something that is so normal at SAP that we don't even count it anymore in Germany. I get that question very often. So how many job sharing couples do you have? And we just don't track them anymore, because it's so common, and you can switch. And it's for example, it would be possible that I say, hey, listen, okay, now I'm in a management position, but if I would not be a manager, I could say, or I could as a manager actually too, but as a not manager, I would say, hey, I work at D&I 100%, but 50% of that time I would love to spend at finances, because I want to learn. So this is so internally that's possible.
Wow.
So I get skills with that, so I can divide my job. So that's a really nice part of job sharing, I think, which is done very often. And the other perspective for people who want to get back to work, but have an extensive family life, or especially in Germany, getting more and more important, caring for the elderly. So this problem will not stop when your children are grown up, because in some families it's your parents who who need to be taken care of. And as we are a software company, and we need our employees, and the market is tight here, and we have a war for talents. Of course, we are forced to be as flexible as possible. So if you want to have a 50%, 40%, 10%, so there's no limit on that. So we don't have something like, at least 50% or something like that. So you can come to SAP with the plan to work 30%. So we find something suitable if you are a talent that is willing to contribute um, to our business. And what I really like about it is that it's also flexible in itself. So it's not a decision you have to stick with. So because, as you know, and maybe your listeners know too, that life has its bumps, and
Yes.
it's we see with right now with the corona crisis, but it could change from one day to another. And when it comes to business, we are flexible as well. So we react on everything that comes in business. So why not reacting on personal situations? And that doesn't have to be necessarily getting pregnant or having small children. It could also mean that you're, hey, I really need time for myself. I want to travel, or I have a specific hobby, or I'm in a difficult life situation with myself, or I have 2 dogs now, or a horse that I want to care about. So we really encourage our employees to balance out, and they can return flexibly. With they just ask their managers, and it's a matter of like days, weeks at max, that they can go back to 100% or 80 or whatever they want to do. So I deeply believe that the flexibility in this is the key, and the same accounts for co-leadership for management positions. We have not only female couples, we have also male couples and mixed couples in co-leadership. Sometimes the same reasons that managers say, hey, wow, sometimes that's 100 and I don't know, 40% working time. I don't want to work that many hours. I want time for my family. So I want to become a manager or stay a manager, or I can't be a manager anymore. I need a second pair of eyes. So it's possible to apply as a couple, like as a twin,
Hmm.
for one management position, and you get interviewed, both of them, and if the hiring manager is convinced, and we have that quite often. So in Germany, with 22,000 employees right now, we already established 16 co-leadership couples in management,
Wow.
which is incredible. This is a lot. And also, not only women, as we would think, also men decide to do that because they want more private life, and or feel like, also when you think about generations, so that someone from an older generation works together with a manager coming or is new to his managerial role. It's a really nice onboarding situation you're
Right.
creating, because maybe I'm not ready on my own, but I'm ready with an old warrior
Right.
standing next to me for maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year. And then they maybe retire because they say, hey, I want to lay back a bit, and someone else wants to start. So there are so many possibilities and varieties we could cope with here.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing this, because I strongly believe that job sharing is such an important and flexible opportunity of working that is simply completely undervalued in so many countries and across so many different organizations. And so I really appreciate that. When I first did research on SAP, to me, I felt very similar to how you were saying, talk to cover, every time I was reading things, it was always SAP's like leading on all the different programs. And so I'm just super appreciative that I can, talk with you and hear this examples in person, because I truly feel this needs to be spreading much wider, because it helps so many different generations. And now, one of the things that you also have is what I've done, the research is called stay in touch programs and the care support and other parent programs, which I would love to learn more about that as well, please.
Yeah, maybe something special about Germany, so that your listeners know as well that we don't only have maternity leave, which is mandatory. That's 8 weeks after a woman gave birth. Employers are not allowed to employ the women in order to protect them. And after these 8 weeks, we have the legal possibility, without having our employer to consent, like giving his approval, to go on paternity leave, which could be up to 12 months, and is paid not by the company, it's paid by the government. It's around 65% of your salary you had before, and it's limited to 1,800 euros per month. And a lot of parents are doing this in Germany. A lot of women are doing it. Not enough men are doing it. So Scandinavia is better in that aspect. So in average, men are doing it for 3 months and women are doing it for 12 months. And in these 12 months, companies experience that women especially lose touch to their employees. So you kind of lose them. They dive back into their families. Of course, they have their hands full in family work, and they lose the connection. And we want to make sure that they are close to us, that they know what's going on, that they know what's going on in our minds, that they feel included, and that they, SAP is a very agile company. So it could happen that you start in a company, and like with me, I had two CEOs now. I had Jennifer Morgan and I had Bill McDermott in 7 months.
Wow.
So we're really agile when it comes to that. So we don't want parents to lose track. So we have we invite them to the office. We have a program, like they can bring their children. We have a childcare there. We have people playing with the children, and then we update them on what's going on, and we assist them on questions they're having about how to return back to work. Things like that. And of course, so we have a lot of internal and external coaches as well, which are free of charge for our employees, where they can ask anything. It doesn't have to be job related. It's about upbringing. It's about administrative things, like everything what's on their mind and what's what's bad for them maybe, or good, that they can figure this out.
And so, as we are talking about family, what often companies simply forget is that there are usually two people, that there is a father as well. And so
most of the times it is. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's yet another thing that I'm just super fascinated about. And I was lucky that in January, but I was actually in Berlin, and I was listening to Kava when he gave his keynote at the Father Summit. So SAP has a father network and a lot of involvement from men. Yes. And so could you tell our listeners a little bit about this, because it is really, really amazing.
Yeah, that links a bit to what I said before. So fathers are, they have the right to go to paternity leave in Germany as well, but they're not using it as much as women are doing. And we found out that our key to, become more balanced in our in gender aspects, and also women in leadership and something. A key element is that men are getting involved in care work as well, and we are not we don't want to interfere with their private decisions. What we want to do is to make sure that fathers are deciding to stay away from their families because they have the fear that their career is getting involved with this.
Right.
So we make sure to address the fathers, and that's how we established the Fathers Network, to really have the possibility to find out what's on their mind. Why, like, how is your situation? How do you feel as fathers, like not as employees, but as fathers? What are your needs? And it's growing every day. And one of the biggest successes we had coming from the Fathers Network is the so-called Dad's Time, which is something we established in January. Fathers, during the mandatory maternity leave of 8 weeks, can step back from work and get paid during that time. So 20% of their working time can be reduced. So for most of them, it's a day off per week, and it's paid. Where we encourage them, like, stay with your family. We want you to know and to feel how important family is, and we want you to be happy, and we want to make sure that you believe us when we say this is an important asset for us. And sometimes that's where ways are starting, and maybe you can do your work in a 4-day week and get more involved at home. And this is a great initiative. Like, they were really thankful, and a lot of dads are doing it. So that's how we get there, step by step.
Well, thank you. That it just sounds amazing. It really does. So now you have mentioned that, because of the flexible work, that it enables women or any professional trying to return back to the paid workforce to be able to, do that. And now in my research, I've noticed that SAP in Asia and in Japan has a specific back to work program. So I'm wondering, here I am in Canada, and I know in some countries also the US has actually quite a lot of back to work programs, thanks to Carol Fishman Cohen, who is the pioneer. Is there a possibility to, like in Germany, are you thinking, or could that be a particular program, or?
I think I know what you mean. So you mean like a trial period for people who return, like internships, something like that?
Right.
Because for Germany, that's not really relevant. I mean, as being a global player, we have to, so we have different regions, and we react to different legal situations. So in the US or Japan, Asia Pacific, they have other struggles to deal with. But in Germany, it is, and it's absolutely normal that you just go back to your old position. There's absolutely no discussion about that. And when someone returns to work, we check the salary if there is a gap compared to the others. So if they need a rise to that, so that's automatically. So you don't have to be afraid that you are left behind in financial aspects. But what I like in this respect is we have internal internships. It's called fellowships. Where I can, I kind of mentioned it before, where I can, for a period of 6 months, have an internal internship at another department. So I'm still with my manager in, for example, HR, and I can go for 6 months to an internship at, maybe customer relations or marketing or, finance, or all the different board areas, to get more knowledge. And then I just normally move back into my team, and everyone is happy that I gained knowledge. And this is really popular. Like, a lot of people are doing it, and also a lot of people who are not really sure if they want to change their position, and so it's a trial and error method, and that's what we want to encourage. So stay curious.
That it sounds amazing to have the opportunity internally to gain a lot of insights and new knowledge, and basically keep on learning across. So Yeah, so the back to work, I'm like, sometimes people stay outside of the paid workforce for 10 or 15 years. And so, like, what Carol has done in the US is typically for somebody who has been out of the workforce for, it depends, say more than 2 or 5 years, but on average, maybe 8 to 15 years. So, what would be, or is there something special in Germany if, say, somebody who has a professional background were to apply and try to, regain work after 10 or 15 years?
Special programs, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like considering from like coming from SAP or
Yeah.
from
Mm-hmm.
like the government coming from SAP?
Yeah.
So for us, it's just not an issue if
Okay.
someone was yeah, away. I don't like the word away because they were basically not aware they were away. There were someone else somewhere else collecting skills
Thank
because
you.
in German it's a bit funny. We use the word work. We don't only have the word work. We have berufstätig and arbeiten, and sometimes they just say, yeah, women don't work. Of course they work. Like they just don't get money for it, or like parents who care for their children is just unpaid. It's an unpaid part of a job. And we deeply believe that what you are earning as a skill set as a father or a mother is yeah, it's very worthy. So no one basically is asking in a recruiting process things like that. You can openly state, yeah, well, I'm a software engineer, or I learned this and that, but I cared for my family for the last 10 years, but I know this and that. And if you're suitable for the job, no one else will yeah, blame you or yeah, pay you differently or something like that. If someone is interesting for SAP, that doesn't matter.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, because I feel, I'm an advocate for professionals returning to the paid workforce. I feel
Yes.
very strongly that there's so many skills that one can learn, and that often it's just completely undervalued. And yeah, so I'm very appreciative to hear that.
Yes.
So now, um, there are people listening who are hearing all these amazing programs that are at SAP, and they're wondering, how can my organization start that? So, for example, with job sharing, what would you recommend these managers or executives? How could they best start that?
It's as simple and blunt, and maybe it doesn't seem to be a really deep and thoughtful answer, but it basically is. It's just do it. Try it, because there's nothing that could happen to you. It's not like an open heart surgery you're doing. You're just trying it, and it does not mean that like you do with all other business decisions as well. Like it's an investment in your company. It's, of course, maybe it's risky, but where's the risk? You can take it back when you see that, okay, co-leadership is maybe not working in this part of the company, but maybe it's good in other parts of the company. So for us, it's mandatory to check if a management position is co-leadership ready, and it most, like all of them are. You have to argue if they're not.
Okay.
And by doing that, we collected the reasons why managers are hesitant to do that. And so we found out that sometimes it's only the mindset, or like really solvable IT problems or things like that. Because when people have to articulate, and if people have to write down what's on their mind, they think twice. So my advice would be just try it. And even if a new idea, something like do co-leadership in a mandatory way, or the dad's time, or a lot of programs we are doing, a new idea is seems to be unrealistic, and sometimes it even seems to be nuts, but until the idea succeeds, and then everyone is like, oh well. So you um, That's always the case. A new idea is always unrealistic because it's new. Everyone is just like, yeah, well, no, there could be this and that, and then it succeeds, and everyone is like, oh well, I didn't know that it's not working, but well, it works. So I think that's one of the sentences I adopted from Kava. From it's not open heart surgery. So stop being so yeah. Mm, it's not really a risk. So yeah, try it.
Thank you. That sounds awesome. Yeah, it's like it's not an open heart surgery. I really like that. So, um, now is there anything that we haven't discussed that you would like to talk about?
Um, hmm. Yeah, maybe from the perspective of people who are thinking to get back to work or to apply for jobs. I yeah have the experience that men and women are sometimes too hesitant to dare. And they start feeling sorry for, I don't know, times they spend with their families. So they start to defend themselves without even being asked maybe to defend themselves. So um, I'm really an advocate for yeah, being proud of all the skills you're having, and try it. The only thing that could happen is that you don't get the job. I mean, yeah, I mean that's easy to say if you're writing yeah, if you're sending 100 CVs per month, but where a door closes, another one opens. So sometimes I wouldn't even like 2 years ago. Would yeah, I thought that I would never work for a company. I didn't want to. I was a lawyer. I was self-employed. I was, the job was hard, but it was what I always did, and where I felt comfortable. And then there was yeah, a place where I thought maybe I'm too comfortable, maybe I have to do something else. And then yeah, Kava came and we started talking. And yeah, I never thought that the company's life is like it is. And the external view, I think, is very fruitful. And we're changing things, and I'm experiencing things. So just dare to change. I think that would be my final saying here.
Thank you so much, Nina. I
Welcome.
really, really appreciate having that you had the time to talk to me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. We hope you gained valuable insights and new ideas. To keep listening to future episodes, please head over to iTunes or your favorite player and subscribe and give it a rating. We would very much appreciate a review and for you to share it on social media, so more people can start innovating in how they offer employment. Until the next time, goodbye!